Greeting, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between. Merry Axemas to you, Jason, my brother. How's it going?
Fantastic, man. How you doing?
Great, man. I'm excited. We have a very special guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, for our Merry Axemas special. And how cool is it that an artist would take out their time when everyone wants to gig and have them for stage time, and they come and share it with us? That's totally cool. And badass, by the way. So, yeah, we will get to Austin Moe in a second, but let's get some horns up for Mr. Austin Moe.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what's going on, man? It is -4 degrees right now.
Well, you know, it's a little bit warmer here, but not a whole lot. Cold for the Carolinas, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have our demented Christmas elf with us, Mr. Paul.
Paul.
That's my buddy since way back, 7th grade. So, and so I'm gonna do a new thing. So here's Jason. So we're gonna start doing like sketches of people who come on. So everyone will be in the CreatiVity talking.
Let me get my glasses up on my head. There we go.
You can't see the knuckles dragging on the ground, you caveman, but you know. And then there's our engineer, Biff Strange.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know. So Biff didn't want to talk today. He's feeling a little down. But anyway, so yeah, let's bring on our guest and check that out. Jamming away.
Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, and all in between, one of the people who will save rock and roll, Mr. Austin Moe. Oh, look, there's a Christmas tree. Where is Mr. Austin Moe? There you go. What's up, dude?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
And so this is how I found out about Austin. So we started doing these reaction videos, right? And Jason, for the longest time, Austin was like sending me all these like, you know, metal, like I like metal
and stuff.
You know, like that's what we're, you know, I can't stand screamo personally. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're always like part of that generation that shares music, and you know, we're both musicians, and you know, Jason's an engineer, and you know, we both were taught engineering by the guy who won 5 Grammys for the Eagles. You know what I mean?
That works.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So totally vested in the situation. So I found Anthony Gomes, and then I played one of his tunes, did a reaction, and then someone said, "Hey man, check out Austin Moe." You know, I'm like, all right. So I checked it out, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, who's this guy? You know, why haven't I heard about it? And what is it, dude, about the power trio?
It's easy.
You know what I mean? Because it so happens like all the bands we've chosen to cover so far are all just happen to be power trios.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you know, it's for me in my area, the Sacramento area, there's a lot of that's kind of like the starting grounds for bands, at least for the younger people. And eventually, like if the guitar player or whoever it is in the group decides, hey, there's something else missing, like a rhythm player or keys or whatever, then they expand more on that. And the way that I've approached playing guitar and singing is I've wanted to figure out how I can play leads and rhythm while singing at the same time without that lack of, oh, there's something missing. There's only 3 people, but something, you know, because sometimes you can see a 3-piece and it's like, wow. And then other times you can go see a completely different band and it's like, well, you know, it might have sounded better with a keyboard or like somebody else.
When it works, there's nothing else like a 3-piece.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's been the working formula for me pretty much since I've started professionally gigging. Uh-oh. Did I disappear?
He disappeared.
Oh no.
Where'd he go? He's in the Christmas tree.
Something's going on.
Oh look, he's a floating head.
I'm not sure what's going. There we go.
Oh no. Right on.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just love the sound of a 3-piece, man. It's just simple down to it, and it really pretty much makes you naked because you're the only one for your instrument.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Right. And let me ask you this. Okay, did you start singing out of necessity, or were you always singing as well?
Well, I started singing the way I started playing guitar, which was my dad tricked me into it. Because before I played guitar, there was this game that was very popular in the mid to late 2000s called Guitar Hero,
Yeah.
and I got way too good at that to the point where I could make myself like a snack, and I'm still playing the song without looking at the television, and I'm not missing a note. And so my dad's watching me do this more and more and more,
Uh-huh.
and he's sitting there, and we had a couple conversations like just in passing when I was a kid. He's like, "Hey, would you ever want to like learn the guitar or anything like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I don't want to like mow that many lawns and wash that many cars and do that many
Yeah.
loads of laundry to be able to work off a guitar. So no, I'm lazy. I'm fine with right here." And
Yeah.
so he called up his buddy. He told him the situation. He goes, "Austin's learning these songs, but it's on 5 plastic buttons. Like it's not a real guitar. Can he borrow a guitar from you?" And this is my dad's best friend for like 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "Okay, meet me at my mom's house where I grew up in whatever city it was. It's not too far away." And he goes, "I got a surprise for you, and I don't want you to tell Austin." He goes, "Okay." So they meet up, and he pulls out, which is the same guitar in the River video. It was originally a 1969 Gibson Flying V, and come to find out through taking it apart and looking at the dates on the hardware and the pots that we presume that the neck had been replaced along with the hardware in 73, because all the pots and the neck pickup, which is original, date to 1973, as well as the tuning pegs. So I was only supposed to learn, a couple of my scales for maybe a month or two and then give it back to the guy.
Mhm.
Well, my dad put up a bounty per riff of 25 cents. He goes, "If you can play a riff without music, I'll give you a quarter." Well, okay, I'm money driven. So he ran out of quarters really quick, and he goes, "Okay, well, I'll pay you." There's either like $5 or $10 a song that you can play all the way through. And then I bankrupted him on that. So then once I was getting to the point where at these blues jams that I was sitting in with these guys who've been playing, 40, 50 years and toured the world 10 times over,
Yeah.
I was getting to the point where I wasn't as lost as I was, because they'd be like, "Oh, it's, we're going to do a 145 key of A. Let's just start it. Don't worry about the words because we have a singer." So when it got to the point where I understood the lingo, my dad was like, "Okay, so now I'm going to pay you $20 a song that you sing and play rhythm and lead on." And then he got broke again. And so by that point, it was a matter of I just got used to it. And I was encouraged and mentored by Ike Turner's first daughter, Twana Turner, from his first marriage. And she taught me how to sing from my diaphragm and not from my throat and mess anything up.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was out of necessity, partially, but it was out of, good support from my family
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
That's
So,
fucking cool.
so do you think, you said you started out playing Guitar Hero. Was that really your first introduction to a lot of those classic rock tunes and stuff through the game?
No, my dad raised me basically from the womb on like the Let There Be Rock album and like Kiss Alive 2
Oh yeah.
and Bad Company's Greatest Hits, Elton John. And every once in a while, Usher will be thrown there because, you got to mix it up a little bit. So that was what
Yeah.
my dad exposed me to.
Yeah.
And my mom would listen to like Jason Aldean and there's a female artist who she always played, country girl, and like Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash.
Nice.
And the old school, just, it was Dolly Parton. And so I had lots of country and lots of classic rock.
Nice.
And that was my first exposure to those songs, but it wasn't until much later into playing that video game where I realized, oh, I've heard this before. I know this song. I know how this rhythm pattern is supposed to play out.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it was, it's a game, but it was pretty on par for what you were listening to.
Right. Awesome, man. Yeah. So going from there, how did you start gigging? I mean, did you find some guys, in the neighborhood, we used to do back in the day, jamming in the basement, and you eventually go out and, start gigging a little bit, or?
So believe it or not, the very first lineup that I had, how many members were there? It was, I think I was a 5-piece when I started, five or 6-piece, depending on who was available. And it was actually, so I can't remember how we met. And I know if they see this, they're probably going to be like, duh, this is exactly, you don't remember? How rude,
Yeah.
But my first lineup was all Filipino guys. They all knew each other. They all played with each other. And they loved, like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Joe Bonamassa and all this stuff. And so that was my very first stab at it, so to speak. And from there, the better and better that I got, the more that I knew what I wanted. And so it progressed down to a 4-piece and then ultimately a 3-piece as it is now. And it's funny that you guys showed those stills in the beginning, because that's actually still shots from a music video that'll be coming out for my EP when that'll be released late January, early February.
This one here?
Yeah. Yeah, those are all really cool guys. That was recorded in Boston. And they actually have a punk rock project, and I think they're a 3-piece, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, hey, where did you shoot the river video at?
So I live in Sacramento, and the city that it was shot in is called Somerset, which is about 2 hours basically into nowhere.
Yeah.
And that whole property, the canyon included, was owned by one dude. And he had just the 10-mile stretch of basically all the way down. And when the band is playing on like that beachy area, we filmed the baptism part on October 30th. And the water was probably like 30 degrees.
Right.
And it was like during the heat of the day, which the heat of the day was probably like 60. So it was cold.
Yeah.
And God bless that guy's heart. My good buddy Tom, who's the teacher, and the actor Adam, who was, the main guy who was going through the supposed troubles and stuff, for the video. And then Halloween came, and I always have to spend Halloween with my family because it's a very big deal for us. Yeah, and then November 1st, we went right back up to the property and shot all the band shots. And even on that cliff, and there's where the drone shot is, where it's just myself on that big rock. There was the center of gravity on that thing was just so wacky, like any wrong step, that would have been it. It was sheer just gone. Yeah. So I had to lean forward the whole time. So that's why if you watch really closely, it looks like I'm like almost on purpose hugging my guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, we've shot in some some very dangerous areas for sure, man. I mean, yeah.
It's the love of the art. No normal person would do that.
Right. But you had drone shots, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So now think of that, and think if a helicopter had to circle around you,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that would
yeah. But
thank God for today's technology.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's so cool, man. It's like, they can oh yeah, here's our helicopter. It's this big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just, just as great, because you wouldn't
Right.
be able to do that for, under 50 grand just to get that shot. But
Oh yeah.
Oh, easily.
yeah,
Easily.
right. So, but yeah. I lived out in LA for 10 years. I was a special effects guy and tour consultant and all that shit. Jason was an audio engineer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he worked on that little song, that little one called "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston.
Ha! That's great.
Black Sabbath live. Whatever.
Super cool.
Couple of guys.
So, is your dad a musician, or does he just
No.
love music, or does
No,
he just love
his
music?
signature line is he plays the radio. But in my family, so on my dad's side, his brother, when he was my age, back in the day, was in a world touring tribute band, and he sounded exactly like, and I don't know the names because I like the Beatles, but I'm not like obsessed with them.
Right.
So the
Sure.
guitar player, that's not McCartney. I know he played bass.
George-
Was that
George.
yeah,
Harrison.
George.
Yeah.
So he sounded up until pretty much he passed away exactly like George. And unfortunately, he battled a lot of bad habits, and so he wasn't around as much as my family would have liked.
Yeah.
But so that was a musician in the family, and then my dad's great grandma was a super famous Spanish opera singer. And don't ask me the name because I always forget it. And then on my mom's side, her dad's brother played like the fiddle and mandolin and banjo. So it seems, at least in my family tree, it kind of like skips a generation or two.
Mm-hmm.
And same with cars. Like my dad loves cars. My brother got that gene.
Yeah.
I got the music, and my sister got the acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. Your fan base is very interactive and very friendly, and total supporting our little show.
They're awesome, man.
Yeah, and
They're so cool.
There's a bunch of people. Hey, try this person next, this, that, and the other. And I was telling Jason, it reminds me of back in our day. Like you'd go to the record store and it would look like it was barren, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, everyone was in the import section because the artwork was fantastic. And a lot of times, if you didn't know it because they're from Sweden or wherever the band is from, you just went by the cover art if you didn't hear them.
Right.
And everything wasn't accessible. So it was kind of like, hey, you like those guys? Check this out. Hey, so
that's cool.
Maybe like 5 different albums would exchange through your hands until you got the one that you were supposed to listen to that week,
Right.
But it's kind of, that's
cool.
how it's been. And that's really exciting because, like, man, how many times can I hear fucking Stairway to Heaven? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nothing against it, but
No. And I mean, that song is
totally exciting.
Can't really change it too much,
Right. But to find good music, because for a while there, rock wasn't being properly represented. So the blues rock is really cool I'm finding as I start listening to other guys. Oh my God, how come I didn't know about this guy? He's got 13 albums out, So it's cool to get someone right at the beginning that like, oh man, this is great. And he's being produced by the right individual.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, Mr. Frank Hannon, right?
Yeah. Frank and I. So we did. We recorded 4 songs, released 3 of them. We did The River, Take a Walk on My Shoes, and I'm Wanted. And right when kind of the tours were starting to go back into full swing in 2021, I was on YouTube trying to refresh my set because I was getting calls from local news saying, hey, we're starting to lift COVID restrictions. We want to have you back, blah, blah, blah. So what are your dates? And I was like, well, I haven't even thought of playing in public in 2 years. So I need to refresh my set list. So I'm looking online for a cover of Pink Floyd's Young Lust.
Mm-hmm.
And I just type it in. And most of the time I go by the views and the thumbnail on how I'm going to choose what way I'm going to learn it. So this one thumbnail caught me off guard because it was like somebody had taken a professional photo and used it as a still. And I was like, oh, well, this dude's got to, I'm thinking this guy's got to have 3 or 4 different angles. You know, he's probably got like fractal audio, something or rather plugged into his DAW. This is going to be great. Dude, this guy who now I've worked with twice, I flew to Boston 2 times last year to work with this guy. They did what Pink Floyd did to music, but they did it to their music. They totally flipped it on its head and made it just a powerful rock in your face. Just I literally watched it for an hour straight, and it's only 4 minutes. And then I sent it to my management, and they called him, and the guy just happened to be on break with band that he recorded that song with. And he goes, hey, this is Joe Merrick at Guilty Dog Studios. Is this da-da-da out of LA? And my manager goes, no, I wasn't expecting you to answer the phone. We're just really big fans. We're out of California. He goes, really big fans? What are you talking about? And so we explained who we were and what we were trying to do. And I couldn't describe the sound that I was trying to achieve because I hadn't heard anything yet. The best I could compare it to in my head, production-wise, was Ozzy Osbourne's Perry Mason. That big, full, just in your face, punches you in the gut. And the moment that I heard Joe Merrick's version of Young Lust, it checked all the boxes. It was enough modern with enough classic sound mixed in with it that we had to work together. And so Frank and I worked, and every once in a while we'll get together and pre-produce some stuff, and he'll help me write some songs and flesh out more ideas. But at this time, I am working with Joe out of Boston, and so I'll send him a demo. He'll come up basic track and then send it my way for approval. And that is the handful of songs that we'll be releasing this coming year from my EP, Do or Die.
Right on. Well, that's got to be exciting, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's totally killer. I can afterwards, if you guys want a sneak peek, I can show you guys what's going on.
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you something. So as a producer, I mean, he's been at the heights where no one will understand more than him.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, what a cool.
That's awesome.
How cool for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still
like wow, right on,
Oh yeah, I'm still not used to it. Like I have phone numbers from people who played with Rat and Foreigner and stuff. And like there was one time they were in Costa Rica and they gave me a call. They're like, hey, Austin, what's going on? I was like, where are you? He's like, Costa Rica. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? We're like, oh, we're just in the green room before we play, the stadium over here. So tell me what's going on. What's Austin Moe doing? And and so it's things like that thankfully I'm not used to, because if I was, I'd probably, I can't let my ego get out of control.
Right.
But it's got to be cool because there's not, at least from whatever modern commercial is left. There's not a guitar driven trios going, you know what I mean? So it's nice that
oh yeah,
people must be like, oh my God, thank you for help saving rock.
Yeah. Have you guys, it's not a trio, it's a 4-piece. Oh, thank you, by the way. That was a very nice compliment. Have you guys heard of Aaron Jones?
No.
Oh, you would love him. So I met him. There's a YouTube video on my channel. It's from our competitions out of Seattle, and this is dating to about 2018, 2017 area. So it was put on by a billionaire. He rented the Mopop Museum, and the stage that we performed on was specifically built for Heart for opening day. So it was just like hundreds, 200 wide, like 60 feet deep. They had these giant, I don't know how many hundreds of feet screens behind us with the name, you know, whatever you told them. And so Aaron Jones was the main act afterwards. And I was like, man, this cat is killing it. Well, this last year, he went on tour, I want to say either the whole time or he caught the last leg of the Rolling Stones tour and he opened up for them.
Nice.
And he played a bunch of local festivals up here. Aftershock is the biggest one that we have in the Sacramento area. And it's like 200 bands and like 100,000 people show up just to our city, just to jam and stuff. Nice. And if you guys could talk to him, yeah, I think you would have a great time listening to his stuff. Yeah. My favorite song, if you're taking notes,
yeah,
that I think you guys would love is one of his latest singles. It's called Mercy.
All right. Yeah, we'll do a reaction video for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
I think you guys would dig it.
Yeah, it's so cool finding new music. And a lot of times, you know, Jason hasn't heard it or I haven't heard it. Like I get to experience one for next week's that we're doing tonight that Jason has brought in to me.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard them yet.
No.
You know, but
right.
We're not out to, bash anyone. We just are sharing things that we love. You know what I mean? Because there's so much.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
There's so much on the internet. It's like, why do you guys bother if that's what you're doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. So it's cool that thanks for coming on. It's we're gonna try to have more bands on that we do reaction videos for, just because you now, I mean, like, what does he say the difference between marketing budgets? I'm like, is there a marketing budget? Now everyone has to market their own things, no matter who you are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were in contacts with people who do PR with like Black Sabbath and Santana and stuff out of LA. And we told them what we wanted to do. And they're like, oh, okay, well, because you know this person, we'll give you a deal and it's $8,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, at this time, it's not in my budget. Maybe in the future, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's this is for my benefit mostly, but let's nerd out on some gear real quick. I just real curious about I mean, obviously I know you got the Gibson V's, but I'm just curious about the rest of your rig, like what you're running and what you're doing.
So I'm on my current endless search for tone, as everybody is.
Well, I'm 50 years old and it never ends. So just,
And right now I have my head that I'm running is a PRS MT15 on the clean channel.
That's the Mark Tremonti, right? The Mark Tremonti signature? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a custom cab that's presumably from the 70s. I have no idea what it is. There's no markings on the cabinet itself or the speakers inside, but the low end in it is for what I'm trying to achieve in my tone is just, I can't even replicate it in any sort of amp sims or anything.
Wow.
And so I don't know how to create an IR of it, but if I ever could, that would just make recording so much easier. So I have that. And then I have a little miniature Helix, the HX Stomp, that has a Klon overdrive clone inside of it. So I use that and I stack it on top of another overdrive. And then I have some delay and a little bit of phase, depending on what I want for my solos.
Yeah. Nice.
And how many Flying V's do you have now?
Currently, I have 2.
Yeah.
I have. You were saying, sorry.
Oh no, I had a Gibson. I had a red Flying V, Gibson Flying V. That thing was
nice.
That, Paul? Yeah, and I had to, as any struggling artist, I had to sell it for food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of artists,
I hate those stories.
See this T-shirt?
Hey, that's cool, man.
Right, it's all the peanuts, right? And I've got the Charlie Brown Christmas tree right there.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So every day, my youngest son's been alive. I wear this on Christmas. So for
That's cool.
22 years or 20,
family
23rd
tradition. Huh?
year. Yeah.
That's
So
super cool.
it's broken out once a year. So
Nice.
Hey, there you go.
yeah. So I had just happened to talk to this guy, Michael. I went back and forth with him. He was a really nice guy, and you could tell he really supported his son. So I'm supporting my son as well, who's a photographer. And when you're in town, he's like, "Oh man, I'd like to take some pictures of him." So if it works
Yeah.
out and you're in town, he can take some pictures, man. That would rock. He works with
Yeah,
some,
I don't know how much time we'll have when I'm there in late January,
yeah,
but yeah, we'll keep in touch, man.
and he works with some hip hop artists. And actually, today he was downtown. They're giving away winter coats.
Nice.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
That's
and
super cool.
Thanksgiving, yeah. So in Thanksgiving, there was like there's this one producer gets like something like 1 billion downloads a month, something ridiculous, right?
Wow.
And this is like the people around like Chance and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
Chance the Rapper. Anyway, so yeah, they gave away I think 3 semi truck loads of turkey.
Wow.
That's
You
awesome.
know, so that's pretty cool that you know, especially it's really cool to see when people make it big and they stick to where they came from. They stick around town
Oh yeah.
and they're like, hey,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that when my break happens, I've got a little list that I'm doing first before I go and my dream rig or my dream house or whatever.
so okay, so what's the personal goal for the next 5 years? What do you want to, because touring right now is difficult with the price increases, the lack, a lot of people retired from it as far as the production side of it.
Yeah.
So how's that crunch affecting planning?
Well, it's definitely, you just got to take it day by day pretty much.
Mhm.
Because some days there'll be, oh, we have so many slots available. And then the next day it's like, oh, well, now because of either weather or inflation or what have you,
Mhm.
those dates are no longer there. They're rescheduled till who knows what.
Right.
For me, in the next 5 years, I would like to have at least 2 or 3 more albums out, like minimum, and to have at least gotten on a sizable tour or a handful of them with like a Bret Michaels or something like that, or even play with like I look up to Anthony Gomes a lot, and
Dude, what a
I
cool
think
guy, man.
Awesome.
play with him.
Oh yeah, totally, dude. That would
That'd
be
be a
great.
great bill.
Yeah.
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 I'm there, and I guess he's doing some shows. He's opening up for the Winery Dogs in like St. Louis area. So I'm
Nice.
hoping he opens up for them when they're here at Arcadia.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and the guy who owns that place, everyone plays there. Queensryche, the big, that kind of, size band. Everyone plays there.
Mm.
And so yeah, we're gonna try to do a regular thing if they'll let us, but we'll see. But
That'd be cool.
yeah, man. And also there's there's a nice little a blues circuit here in Chicago, man. So maybe while you're here, you could book some extra days to make the trip worth
Yeah, who knows?
a little bit more. But all right, so how did you hook up with Frank? How did that all happen?
Well, I'll make a long story longer. And so it was my 21st birthday, and Tesla was playing. I'm looking at the backstage passes. It's behind the camera. So if I'm doing this,
Yeah.
if I go off screen, I apologize. It was September 22nd. My birthday's on the 11th. And so my family friend surprised me with tickets to the show. He was like, "Oh my God, you've never seen Tesla?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've never really like been a fan of Tesla. At least I didn't think I was, because
Audible
the
gas.
the name wasn't familiar to me, but I knew all their songs. Like when I got there and they played word for word, I knew the songs. So I hit up Frank Cannon's personal photographer. He's always there. He's always at this local venue. I said, "Hey, my family friend got me 2 tickets. I would really, really appreciate it, because it's my 21st. If we could just go in and say hello, and then you can kick me out, and that's that. He goes, "Oh, dude, I really wish I could, but I'm double booked that date, so unfortunately, I can't make it." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man, this guy's been watching them City Kid basically started, which was their very first rendition of Tesla."
Mhm.
And so I was talking to my mom and I what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to surprise him like he surprised me. And she was like, "Well, Frank's got Facebook, right?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but you know, he's not gonna pay attention to his Facebook, I don't think." She's like, "Well, you never know. You can always just ask." Worst thing
Right.
he could say is, "Hey, our backstage is too full. Unfortunately, maybe stick around afterwards and we can say hey." So I write up this very polite, "Hey, this is who I am. I'm playing guitar for X amount of years. My family friend got me tickets. I would really like to surprise him and come backstage and say hello." So less than 24 hours later, I wake up to a message from Frank. It says, "Hey, Austin, I know who you are. I've been watching you for a couple years. How many tickets do you need?" I was like,
Cool.
uh, 2 would be
One.
great. And he's like, "Okay, cool. So send me your information and, we'll hang out backstage." I was like, "Oh my God, like th- this is happening. This is legit.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe it."
Right.
So my friend and I comes to the day of the show. We eat, we go to the venue early. They won't let us backstage. And I'm like, "Dude, call Frank Hannon. Like, he specifically invited me here to meet me." And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure. Yeah."
Right.
I'm just some kid. And so we couldn't get backstage.
Yeah.
Finally, the venue opens, the opener's on. We show them our passes. They let us backstage. We're walking around. It's just a bunch of empty, like, road cases for their clothes and like a little Tesla pop up. So I take my picture with, the background and we go and sit down. So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of bummed. And I'm like, well, I know how it is to set up a show at a bar. I can't even imagine how it is to set up a show at this magnitude. They're
Yeah.
playing for 5,000 people at this show.
Yeah, dude. It's a drag.
Sitting there, I'm kind of bummed, but I'm enjoying the songs of the opener, and I get a text from Frank, and he's like, "Hey, man, are you coming to the show tonight?" I was like, "Oh yeah, we're here. We didn't find you guys, and so we're in the front row." He's like, "Oh, go to the side stage. My guy's going to come and get you. What are you wearing?" So I told him what I was wearing. And soon enough, we're backstage hanging out with Frank Hannon,
Yeah.
and I'm doing my best to keep my cool, but I think he could tell that I was just like in utter disbelief that this was happening.
Yeah.
And there's photos on Facebook of the first time that we met, and the grin that I have is like uh Michael Keaton's Joker. Like, that's how
Right.
big my grin was.
Yeah, he's
Just
one of my
ear to
favorite
ear.
players, man.
Frank was so cool, and he
Yeah.
was just such a humble guy. And
Yeah.
one of the first things that he actually complimented me on was that I was singing and playing guitar at such a young age. He's like, "Dude, if I would have done that by your age,
Right.
as a main singer, not as a backup singer," I compliment Jeff, but I was still learning
Yeah.
at that time when we were in the heights." And
Yeah.
he goes, "If I can give you any advice, is to keep trying to improve not only your voice, but your guitar playing, and don't be an ass to anybody if you can help it. If they deserve it, they deserve it, but do your
Right.
best to be humble and be
Right.
a good guy and a good hang."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a dude who's literally, he's done what I'm striving to do. So even to this day, I can't even think of a situation where I've had to, treat somebody poorly, because it's not who I am. It's not my character,
Right. Right. Right.
you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. and and especially the people who've been around for who've proven the test of time, and they're professional, dedicated,
Oh yeah,
decade-long musicians. If you're an asshole, man, you're not going to last.
Right.
I mean that,
Oh.
because if no one wants to work with you, yeah, I mean it works in very rare things and weird pockets, more of the older people, because
oh yeah.
they're not going to.
I mean, if you're that way, you could play 500 seaters all night long.
Right.
If you have your cult little following, but it's
Right.
it's just so much easier, and experience is way better for everybody if you're just cool with it.
Yeah, and being nice is free.
Yeah.
And it's contagious.
Oh, definitely.
It's real simple.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, if the world could just relax for a second.
Yeah, we'll just get some crop dusters and a very specific plant and chill out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. What am I? Oh yeah, I am enjoying the sativa gummies. By the way,
There you go.
yeah. There's just 2 more, Jason.
There you go.
Say goodnight. Okay, so what are your some of your favorite Christmas memories? Since it is Axemas Eve.
Let's see. My favorite Christmas memory, I'm trying to think, as far as music goes, would be, I got one. Okay. So we have they don't like the term megachurch. The church that I go to, it's called Bayside, but they do have several facilities in the area. They're doing really well.
Yeah.
And when I'm 10 years old, they do this huge production for Christmas, and it's always their guitar player at the time toured with Steve Perry. And Perry first me back in the early 80s, and the kid was, well, he's not a kid now, but at the time he was 16 years old and was contracted for like 3 years and did all that and left to become our guitar player for my church. And I distinctly remember they had a drum solo, and me being so young, I loved every minute of it. And then the risers started rising like we were at a Motley Crue show, and then it went straight up and down, and the dude started spinning while doing all this. And I can't find a video of it anywhere, like at all, because I'm sure there was some crotchety person who wrote the pastor an email saying how dangerous and blah, blah, blah. And they've never done it. They've never done anything like that since. And so those memories with Lincoln Brewster and his band trying to really push.
Did you say Lincoln Brewster?
Yeah, that's my
he plays in your church?
Worship leaders. Yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
the worship leader that we have.
He's awesome. He's got his own signature Strat, does he not? The gold one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, but those events leading up to, just to see what they could do basically in the area to really like not only draw people to Christ, but to leave an everlasting impact. I mean, he's really the very first influence that I ever had of wanting to play an instrument, because he'd come out in his Mohawk, and I'm like 6 years old standing there with my parents in adult church because the kid church had already filled up. And I'd fall asleep for the message, but up until that point I was like, oh my God, like,
he's an amazing player.
Is what I want to do.
Yeah, that you just kind of blew my mind a little bit. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, dude, some of the production facilities the churches have are amazing, man. Like Pat plays.
Oh yeah.
From the Beard Speaks. And we're doing Whitesnake. By the way,
end of the month.
Oh, right on.
I better do my homework. I guess.
Album by album. Yeah, hurry up. You suggested this one. But
well, man, Austin, you're surrounded by greatness, man. I'm telling you, you got all kinds of great guitar players around you. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. I've been so blessed with the people who
look at this.
Who have
doody do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me and Frank, and it was just a killer night.
Hey, when can I come over and get some hang time with these guys?
Yeah. And look, here's another one. Oh, dude, I think I'll just jam with Jared John. Doody doody doo.
Oh yeah, Jared James Nichols,
Oh,
another
dude,
monster.
that was such a fun show.
Yeah, that
Oh
video.
my God, that was this year.
Yeah.
And that was just I didn't even expect to get an email, let alone a yes saying that, yeah, sure, you can open the show, because I woke up early, which early for me is a normal time for like somebody who has like a 9 to 5. So my mom got up. She was extra noisy that day. It was like 7:30 in the morning. And if I can't go back to bed, I'll on Facebook. And so I see this post, and the club is that was shot at. It's called the Folsom Hotel.
Okay.
And there's a club down the street that's called the Powerhouse, which Jared has played at with Frank. And the Powerhouse can hold, if you really push it, probably 500 to 600 people. The Folsom Hotel can maybe, if you push it, hold 100. So I wake up and it says Jared James Nichols, Folsom Hotel, blah, 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 whatever the date was. I said, there's no way that this is, they have to have the address wrong. It's got to be the Powerhouse. Like, Jared is way bigger, I mean, than these venues, in my opinion. But maybe they got the address wrong. So I realized that I had added his manager sometime in the past. So I shot him a message. I said, hey, this is who I am. I've worked with Frank Hannon, blah, 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 blah. Jared's been a huge influence on me over the last couple of years. Do you need an opener? If so, can I be considered? He goes, oh, dude, Austin. Yeah, we were going to reach out to you, man, because Frank has shown us your stuff and we think it'd be a great fit. And I'm like, cool. Can I play with him? Like, can I do the show? They were like, oh yeah, why not? And then the more that we started talking, he was like, oh, so, can you send me over your email? We need to arrange, this on a more professional thread, because this was over Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, oh, and you'll be paid this much. And I was like, I'm getting paid too? This is
right.
This is great.
Right.
And so then after about a week and a half, 2 weeks go by, because I didn't want to mess with their schedule and stuff, and I didn't want to come off as like annoying. I sent a very polite, hey, I noticed that Jared knows how to play Stranglehold, and if he wants to play with my band and we would love to have him. Yeah. And so I didn't hear anything for like almost to the week of the show. Maybe it was a week and a half before. Yeah. And he goes, hey, that's a great idea. Jared really doesn't play with anybody else but his own group. So why don't you play with Jared and his band on Stranglehold? I was like, yes, right. I'll do that 10 times over, twice on Tuesday.
Yes, you will.
Of course I will.
Right.
And he was just such a cool guy. I mean, Jared he's a gentle giant, man. He let me hold his Dorothy, which is the 19. Oh yeah. Yeah. He showed me Dorothy, and that thing weighs like literally 5 pounds, maybe.
Yeah.
And
I was telling Vince the story at Dorothy recently, oddly enough. Yeah.
Is it a 50 or a 51? I can't remember the body.
You know what?
I think it's a 51.
51. I think you're right. Yeah.
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 Because I may be remembering this incorrectly, but I want to say either the pots were still in it, or one of the P90s were still in it when they found it.
Yeah, because if I remember right, when the fan had given it to him, he had I think his name was Joel in Philly. Was a very good luthier. Did the work, built the neck for it. I think it maybe rewound the pickups and stuff. Because I was following that whole process at the time, and I mean, it's amazing now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's from East Troy, Wisconsin, which is about 60 miles from here. And
it's a short drive.
Yeah, and he was. Yeah, so what's funny, like, because right after, because I had heard about him, some years back before the plague hit and all that stuff. So I'm listening to your stuff, automatically some of his stuff. I'm like, oh, because I had forgotten his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a dig. Just like, like I had the plague, and after that, my memory hasn't been like 100%. So I'm like,
Yeah.
but recognized him. I'm like, because the guitar looks like this big. I mean,
He's a big dude. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
He
eats
so
weights for breakfast.
and he was just going through town past couple of days doing promotions and stuff. Anyway, so we're going to do a reaction video actually after this one, and we find out that he's going to release an album on the 13th of January, so we'll wait.
Oh,
Do
wow.
a new tune. So, yeah, we'd like to have him on, so, that would be cool as well. He seems like a really cool individual, you know what I mean?
He is, man, and it's like it's kind of weird because he's like a giant puppy dog, like tails wagging all the time, and he's just happy to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from the minute I got there, he was in a great mood, and even at the very end of the night, he's like, "Hey, man, you have a cell phone, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, here, take down my number. Call me sometime, and if I'm in Nashville, and I have the day off or something, and you're in town, let's just go hang out. I'm like,
Right on.
all right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude, And then Joe Bonamassa also seems like a cool guy.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. When I met him with my dad, it was just surreal. That was another highlight of.
I mean, there's another guy. I mean, he's got 4 different bands every year, 4 different, like each quarter is a different project.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, album tour.
Yeah.
Album tour. Like that dude.
I don't know how he does it.
Oh, he stays on the road.
Like honestly,
he's a monster, dude. And what a talent! Like, holy shit, is that guy talented?
I just wish his project with Glenn Hughes and Jason Bonham would reconnect and
Black Country Communion.
Yeah. They released heavy stuff.
Yeah, that was really good.
I met him when he was 15, and I worked on we recorded Bloodline when he was in that band back in the day. Yeah. But yeah, he's it's amazing to see what he's done over the years,
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to college with Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids.
Yeah.
That was like the college.
Yeah, they used to come and hang their flyers up in our school.
That's cool.
Playing the Kitchen Club in Miami.
Oh my God, dude, the Kitchen Club. I always remember going there, never remember coming back. That's all I can say.
Right.
You just wake up somewhere.
Right. Exactly. But okay, Jason, do you have a good, Christmas story? Other than the fact that Kris Kringle may have actually come down your chimney. Because you kind of look like him, brother.
A good Christmas story.
Yeah. That good, huh?
Nothing's coming to mind, man.
No dares?
What's that?
Said no triple dog dares?
Okay.
All right. So since it's done, I will tell my yearly Christmas story. Okay. So I got hurt on a job on a Tyson chicken commercial. I was doing special effects, right? So get hurt on this job. I have to have these surgeries. So I would walk as part of my physical therapy, and I'd walk past West LA Music every day because, I was eyeballing gear. Plus they're air conditioned, and I could stop in there. And my goal was to get to UCLA, which was 4 miles, and then back 4 miles. And once that happened, I'd feel that I was pretty much done with, the heavy physical therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so it's the day before Christmas Eve. I can't fly back to Chicago. And Austin, are you there? There you go.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, no worries. So I couldn't fly back to Chicago, feeling down. I'm on disability. So I'm walking past, and there's a pro side and a commercial side. They're on separate sides of the street. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm walking past, and there's this dude who's like 6'8", standing there. He's like, "You come with me." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm hobbling. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to argue," And so anyway, reminds me when I had the hair, Jason.
Right.
So anyway, so I go in there, and there's these people all gathered around, right? And you could hear someone playing the piano, and I'm like, holy shit! And they all turn and look at me at the same time, like I set off an alarm or something, you know. And they turn around and they split like the Red Sea, and they walk me up to the guy in the bench of the piano, right? And they're like, "Sit down." I'm like, "I'm not sitting down on the bench. He's playing." "Oh no, it's okay. Sit down." I'm not sitting down next to him. He's playing. So they whisper in the ear, and the guy goes, "Sit down, man. It's cool." So I sit down. So for the next half hour, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, every favorite Christmas song, you know, in a half hour from my childhood, right? So at the end of the half hour, I turn and I got like a tear rolling down my eye, down my cheek, and I'm like, "Thank you, Mr. Wonder, for the best Christmas present."
Oh my gosh.
Stevie Wonder gave me a half hour fucking personal Christmas fucking.
Wow.
Nice.
That is so
And
cool.
the whole way home, I'm crying. I'm like, "Oh, that was so fucking cool." You know, so I used to listen to Stevie Wonder since I was a kid, man. You know.
Right.
Oh, I love Stevie. We
Yeah,
we would go to Disneyland and play his double album front to back, and by the time that we would get there, it would be on repeat, only for the third time.
Right.
Oh, dude, all those songs. There's even some that like I'll hit shuffle on Spotify,
Yeah.
and that'll immediately just within an instant I'm back in the back seat of my car. I'm 8 years old going to Disneyland, and we're going through the Grapevine. Like it just
Takes you right
shoots
back.
me back.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's the beauty of music, man.
Mhm.
I haven't been back to California in like 20 years, man.
You're not missing much. I mean, it's warmer, but that's about it.
Yeah, you know, yeah. So I don't know, maybe Colorado. I'm thinking of getting out of Illinois, but maybe Colorado. We'll see.
Wait until February.
Oh, not now. No, yeah. -4 degrees without the wind chill. So what's the wind chill? You know? -30-ish. -30.
Oh Lord.
Nice.
Absolutely. All right. So who is there a musician that you want to play with that you haven't yet?
There's too many.
Like
Currently,
let's say older legendary players that might only be around for 10 more years or so.
oh, okay, that narrows it.
Like if there was
I
one guy
wouldn't.
that, you know.
Oh, Paul Rogers. Paul Rogers or David Gilmour? Gilmour first, and then Paul Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Rogers. What a voice on him, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. I saw him.
If we were going,
go ahead.
if we were going just slightly younger, I'd say Tommy Shaw.
Oh,
Michelle. Yeah.
well, Steve Miller Band. When we worked on his tour, Paul Rogers Band opened up, and him and Steve would do this 45-minute blues jam in the middle of
just straight
of Steve's set. Yeah, just 45 minutes straight of just insanity. And I have to say that Steve Miller Band has that was one of my first really, really cool concerts. Because, you know, a lot of the metal stuff back in the day, a lot of craziness and shenanigans and, you know, the spikes and all that shit. But anyway, everyone from 7 to 75 and everyone is dancing, having a great time.
Yeah.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean?
That's the ultimate goal, you know, as an artist on stage.
Dancing, they weren't causing a ruckus. You know what I mean?
There's no greater feeling than seeing that from a stage perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
like for instance, like right around the corner from me, there's a bar, blues bar called Johnny Blitz. So if you play at Buddy Guy's and Fitzgerald's in Chicago, you also play Johnny Blitz's. So at the end, the last Tuesday of every month, he has the harp player who plays the Buddy Guy come down, and then like the top 40 harmonica players from the Midwest blues scene all come to jam.
I know my buddy. I'm almost certain my buddy's been invited to that multiple times.
Yeah,
he's a local cat up here.
30-second walk from my house.
Yeah, I am confident that my friend, he's
Yeah.
only, I want to say he's maybe 30, but he's played with like James Cotton Band and the surviving members of that, and he's done benefits for, I'm not a harp player, but the original like South, they were doing a conversion from their house into a museum type of thing. And my buddy, he would just fly out randomly and come back like 2.5 weeks later. I'm like, where'd you go? He's like, oh, played here, played Buddy Guys Club, played with people from his band, this group. And I'm like,
right.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna have Johnny's coming on the show. That guy's a fucking character, man. He's from Sardinia. And
where's that?
Sardinia is an island off of the coast of Italy.
Oh.
And this guy's old school. He thought I was like Southside Italian when I walked in there. Sat at the end of the bar. He's like, "Hey, Southside Italian."
You're
I'm
like,
like,
no,
no, and I'm like, suburban
Bohawk.
bohawk, you know. And so yeah, he was a cool guy, and ever since then, we've struck up a friendship. Really cool. So I was there one day, and I don't know if you know who this gentleman is, Herman Hines.
The name sounds familiar.
Dude's 92, Chicago Blues legend, walks in on open mic night and just tears the place apart.
Kills.
As you do.
Yeah, just like, I was there, brought a couple of friends, and then some guy comes up while he's performing. So Mr. Hines is seated in a chair. He's 92, walks with the assistance of a cane, a really classy cane, by the way. You're welcome, Herman. And really cool guy. So this guy comes up right to him. He's like, "Hey, man." Notes from the grocery store. So like, hey, man. And I go up to them. I'm like, dude, get out of the guy's face. Like, he's literally singing, and he's like, wants a high five. He wants him to stop what he's doing. Herman's telling you a story. Herman's testifying. Eyes closed, singing his heart away. And this guy's like, So the guy wants to bail. He's like, "You want to sing? Fuck you." Pushes the mic back, and the guy, it was totally rude, right? So my friend hadn't sung, Jenny Russ. So she hasn't sang in public in like 10 years. Really good singer. So he walks over, he's ready to split. I'm like, "Hey, Herman, here's my two female friends. They're in from out of town, from Arkansas and Atlanta." Oh, hey, ladies.
Stay a little longer, man.
Stuck around a little bit. We got him back in a better mood. And then Jenny and Herman went back and sang Tennessee Whiskey. And then another tune. So he stuck around and closed the night. So
nice.
He's gonna
be right on.
Yeah, I actually want to do a documentary on him. He retired as a prison guard from Statesville, Joliet, Illinois prison.
Wow.
And then started doing the blues full time and became overnight blues sensation, and he's been constantly gigging for 20 years or 22 25 years. But what a cool guy, man. Just happened to be there. So okay, so how did you what show's this from?
Oh, that's from when we opened up for Tesla this year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you got to open up for Tesla?
Yeah. I got a 7 a.m. wake-up call.
Hello. Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So the story with that is I hadn't, because Frank's touring for a majority of the year. So I hardly hear from the guy unless he needs an extra hand around the property. Then I'll come up and hang out and what have you. And, who knows how long it'll be before I hear from him again. So it was going on.
Your Luke Skywalker Yoda time in.
Oh, yeah. It was probably going on 5-ish months. And I hadn't heard anything from him. And that week, Frank buys a Harley.
Oh,
so
I saw it on Instagram or one of them. Yeah, the black one, right?
So yeah. I'm in my bed. I hear my parents freaking out, yelling Frank's name. So my first thought is that, oh oh no, Frank got hit and they're canceling. That was my first initial response, as being 90% asleep. That's where my brain went.
Right.
So my dad runs in the room, wakes me up. He's like, get up, get up, get up. You need to come into the room right now. I'm like, what time is it? He's like, doesn't matter. Get up. So I'm leaning in the hallway of my parents' room. I got socks on and PJs. And I'm like, why, what's going on, man? They're like, get up. You're opening for Tesla. I was like, good one, guys. I'm going back to bed. They're like, no, you need to go look at your phone. Frank has called you 5 times in a row and you haven't answered. It's 7 a.m. You have 30 minutes to give him a yes or a no. And I was like, oh no. Like, I started freaking out and kind of hyperventilating.
Yeah.
They're like, relax. We've tried to call your drummer. He's out of town. So let's call the other guy. I have 2 or 3 drummers that I have on rotation. And so I called Tony, who's actually you can see his arm in that photo and the green John Bonham replica kit that we used.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give him a call, and he owns some jet skis and stuff. His property's on the Sacramento River. I go, Tony, what are you doing? He's like, what are you doing? It's 7 a.m. Why are you up so early? I was like, what are you doing? Where are you? Stop what you're doing. And so he pulled over and he's like, what's going on, man? I said, what are your plans today? He's like, well, my girlfriend and I were hour up the river and blah, blah, blah. We're going to go have lunch at my favorite restaurant, da, da, da. We're meeting some friends. I said, well, that's nice. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, we're opening for Tesla. You have till 4 p.m. to do whatever you want, but the clock strikes 4. You need to be at the venue. We need to be loading in. And he's like, oh my God, I gotta go tell everybody. I gotta go home and I gotta get ready. I gotta go clean my drums. I gotta do this. I'm like, don't tell me. Go do it, bro. Like, get at it. I'm not giving you an option. You're it. So no pressure. And then I called my bass player. His name is Nick. Nick doesn't answer his phone because he works really odd hours sometimes. And that week he did. And I'm like, oh man, it was 15 minutes already had gone by. I was like, dude, if Nick doesn't answer, like I don't have anybody. Like, he's it. So he is close enough away to where my folks hop in the car, they race over to beat down the door. His girlfriend answers and is like scared, like, what's going on? Is Austin okay?
Right.
We're like, yeah, everything's fine, everything's great. Where's Nick? She's like, Nick's asleep. She's like, wake him up, spill some water on his face or something. He needs to be out here. So he wakes up. We tell him what's going on. He's like, oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then let's do it. Let's knock this out. Let's go have some fun. And we showed up to the venue. I called the photographer who took that shot that day at like 8 in the morning. And he asked me the same thing. What are you doing up so early? And I was like, dude, this is what's going down. Can you be there? And so he showed up, and it was just, there wasn't any time to think. It was just straight up go and have fun. And it was amazing. And the last thing that I can remember from that show is outside during our set, it was about 110 to 115 outside during the summer. And the previous temperature, the record period was 120 degrees.
Yeah.
Outside, it was 110.
Wow.
The surface of the stage, the prior record was 120. We broke that by 20 degrees. It was 140 degrees on the surface of the stage.
Did your shoes
while we were playing? No, thankfully. But oh, dude, as soon as I was done getting my stuff off the stage, I almost collapsed.
Yeah.
Like, it was rough, but it was great. It was such a cool experience.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. So what do you have going on so can you do you have something coming out that you can give a maybe a title of and a possible date ish?
Well, I mentioned my EP earlier when we were talking, and the title for it is going to be called Do or Die.
Okay.
And we're shooting to release it most likely early February.
Okay.
At the latest, like the second weekend, but we're finishing up the artwork currently.
Right on.
And the songs are recorded and it's really killer. And yeah, that's our main focus right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to name a date earlier, so I figured I'd bring it up again just so to keep it in mind. And AustinMoExperience.com. You can go and check out some more information about Austin. Also become a subscriber on his YouTube page. Want to get that out there before anything else. So do you have any further plans to open up for Tesla now that you've done that? That's a pretty good cred. You could probably open up for anybody now that you've opened up on a certain level. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a matter of their scheduling. Because for the most part, well, you guys know more than I do. Once the tour is announced, all the details have been finalized already.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason why I got that call is because Buck Cherry was slated to open for them.
Okay.
And they were playing a show in LA, and the singer walked on stage, sang a song, and then spent the rest of the night throwing up. He got COVID that night.
Wow. Oh, bummer.
And so they woke up to that phone call. And Tesla was like, oh, dude, what are we going to do? Like, I know the manager was like, I'll call these 4 guys, blah, 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 blah. We've worked with them before. It's been great. And stop what you're doing. Don't calling Austin first. Let's give him 30 minutes.
Right.
And
why, yes, we can.
Yeah. The rest is history on that one.
Yeah.
Right. And what a great, I mean, that's how the magic happens. I mean, that's usually how people start. All the great stories. That's yeah, man, just by someone got sick, boom, we filled in.
Yep.
Next thing you know, someone sees you, and then 2 years later, after you've done 6 other tours with other people, they're like, hey man, saw you at the Dada. And then all of a sudden you're with this band X amount for the next year and a half, or
Oh yeah, that happens with local, like with local shows. I sat in with one song with a local cover group at a winery up in a town called Rockland.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really intimate and just maybe like 40 people there. And still to this day, this is 3 years ago now. Well, no, it was pre-COVID. So a minimum of 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I played Whole Lot of Love, and that was it. Because I didn't want to be rude. If bands would let me, I would sit there and play the rest of the night with them because I'm a performer and I just love it.
Yeah, you're a musician.
So, yeah. And even like I'll be walking around with my family, they'll be like, Austin. And I'm like, hey, you.
Right.
And I'm just honest. I'm like, hey, man, I've met so many people and I got to be truthful. I have no idea who you are. Like, I know we've met, but I can't remember. And they're like, you remember that one time you sat in and played Whole Lot of Love with that at that winery that one time? I was like, are you serious? Out of everywhere that I played, Tesla included and all this stuff, that's where you remember me? They're like, yeah, it was fantastic. I was like, well, you should come out to my shows. Like, that was just me sitting in.
Right. And there's, there's a difference between, like going and guesting for a song and sitting in with the band. That's what's so cool about blues. You go to a blues club, you're going to see a blues band. Who's sitting in? Get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're like there for the whole show, and they're, they're not there to showboat. They're doing their thing, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what, because I'm a huge fan of heavy metal and the heavier stuff, but it kind of looks goofy when you're 60, unless you're Rob Halford and a few. I mean, sorry, it does to me, and I'm like, man, why don't they just like take their tunes and just bluesify them? And
some people, I've played with some people who are fantastic, like speed shredders on bass and drums and stuff.
Yeah.
Blues just to certain people, it just does not equate, because with like metal and stuff, you're very on top of the beat, sometimes almost pushing it.
Right.
You're right on the downbeat. And with blues, you can be on it. You can be just, as far as the rhythm section goes, just behind it to give it that breath of fresh air. Or you can emphasize certain parts with pushing and pushing like a metal player does. But when I've played with those people who, doing Megadeth and Up are fantastic, and we try and do BB King, it just doesn't work, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Not saying it's impossible.
Sure.
But from my experience locally.
And that's probably, I'm sure, just my bias, because I'd be like, well, if you're a singer, you could just get by, switch over to the blues if you can't hit the,
Oh, yeah.
People who can't hit the high notes, hey, man, go the blues route, and you're good to your 90. Now you've got a whole nother genre, but you still have the fans,
Or jazz,
Yeah. And that's what, because we, had a few Van Halen episodes, and that's what made Van Halen so different than everyone else. Everyone else was based in their hearing blues through the bands from England. When Van Halen was influenced by jazz and big band.
Yeah.
And that's
more David than I mean,
Eddie played in a jazz trio with his dad and his brother. So
that's true.
Inherent in their sound right off the bat.
Oh yeah. And due to the fact that, Eddie really out of necessity had to figure out how to make sounds with only his guitar.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the money to go buy the Marshalls.
And Alex Van Halen is one of the most underrated drummers ever.
Oh,
like why isn't he in the top 5 every list?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what a tough spot to be in. You know what I mean? But he's just phenomenal. But so too bad we're not going to get that Van Halen. So what do you think about the Wolfie? The Wolfie jam?
Dude. Okay. So, the jam that he did, or just him in general?
Well, whatever, both.
So I had 2 opportunities to see him this last year or 2, and I missed both of them. One because I had a show, and the second time was at the festival Aftershock that I mentioned earlier. It was my first year going, but I had performed, I can't remember where, which just shows of how good my memory is, but I played a show, and usually I have a day or 2 rest just to relax and let my body just chill out for a little bit and then get back into the swing of things. But my buddy gave me his extra ticket to this festival, and Mammoth was playing and Steel Panther back to back. And Mammoth was like
that's awesome for people who
which is a really weird lineup. Like there was more, but that was like the main stage.
1987, by the way, great tune.
And so Mammoth was at like 11, and Steel Panther was maybe around noon. And I did my best to drag my body out, and I look at the time, and it was already 11:30, and I was like, "Oh, dang it! I missed Eddie's kid." And so we get there, and I saw the last encore of Steel Panther, and it was very not safe for work in the chorus, and I was like, "Oh man, I missed them too." But it was like, it was still pretty cool. I love the fact that he's now like with the Taylor Hawkins tribute, doing at least a little bit of his dad,
right?
And
dude, that was incredible.
It's funny,
incredible.
Yeah, and it's funny to watch his interviews and from his perspective, where he addresses the people that are like, "Oh, well, the only reason you can play like that is because you're his kid. I mean, why don't you actually put in time?" And he's like, "You don't think I had to put in time to be able to play like my father?"
That person was only half stupid. The first part of the sentence is totally correct. The first part.
Right.
No one else could play that like Eddie's son. Due to like, first of all, you have to know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's a skilled player, absolutely, of every
totally.
instrument and a vocalist.
Mhm.
But due to his genetic, I mean, he's gonna move like his dad.
Yeah, and
You
I mean, it helps that he was on tour with him for 10 years,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
whatever it was.
Knowing, like 100 people could play that, but you'd know which one was Wolfie.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, because
Mhm.
it just is right. It's not, sacrilege. It's still kind of weird seeing people play Eddie's stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was a good tribute, and with all the drama surrounding Van Halen, not on Wolfie's part, but the older guys, just whatever.
Totally.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate because it could have been a really cool thing, but
Oh yeah.
what are you gonna? Okay, so who are your dad's favorite bands?
Well, right now, I know for a fact Aaron Jones, who I mentioned to you guys earlier,
Mhm.
and Anthony Gomes and Marcus King.
Mark,
Are
Oh,
you guys familiar
yeah.
with him?
he's right. He's our hometown boy. I live in Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, right on. Well,
Yeah.
then yeah, you would know out of.
Yeah.
But so those are like his top three. Like I'll wake up and come out and it'll be like, "Hey, did you hear this song, Anthony?" And I'm like, "I might have." And he's like,
Right.
"Well, no, you gotta plug. Just stop what you're doing. Don't get breakfast yet. Let's listen to this." I'm like, "All right." But those are his three that I've noticed recently that he's been hooked on. But like of all time, he loves Saga and Genesis, and he has a big soft spot for Bon Scott era,
Okay,
specifically
as one should.
Let There Be Rock. He remembers the day that he heard that album for the first time. It was the way that the music scene up here worked back in the day. From what I've been told, is the Bay Area, so San Francisco, would get all the shipments first, and then it would trickle down to Sacramento because we're below the valley or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my dad's friend was listening to this record, who goes to San Francisco at the time to go get what's coming in, what's hot, and all this stuff. And he goes, "Oh, what song is this?" And my dad asked that, and my friend goes, "Oh, this is AC/DC. It's whatever. I've had the album for a little bit." And he goes, "Who's AC/DC?" And the friend's like, "Who's AC/DC?" He goes, "Here, let me flip it to the A side,
dude."
And he literally, my dad just stopped what he was doing. He sat at his friend's house and listened to the whole thing front to back.
The first rock album that I bought with my own money. Well, I bought 2 albums that day. One was The Great White North, and that was Bob and Doug McKenzie, which was a comedy takeoff. Yeah.
Take off.
Yeah. Take off, eh? Hey, hoser. Yeah. Oh, nice Tukey. But my first rock album that I bought with my own money was AC/DC Back in Black when it first came out.
Oh, I have a, it's not significant, but it was like the 35th or 40th anniversary or something like that. It was the anniversary of the Back in Black album. There was a local radio show. It was called Jack FM, and they had a Facebook, and so they posted, "Hey, this is blah 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 anniversary of Back in Black," and they posted "Shoot to Thrill," and so
dude, what a great!
I just wanted to get a ruse out of him, and I was very young. I was maybe like 10, and I was like, I made a really just baity troll comment. I was like, "Oh, celebrating the album of Back in Black decides to put Shoot to Thrill, blah, 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 blah." It was like really condescending, and like, it was pretty funny. And they're like, "Hey kid, Shoot to Thrill is on the album." And then I replied back immediately. I was like, "I know, I just wanted to troll you guys and get you guys some stuff. Have a good day." It was so funny. I mean, to me, it was funny. To them, it was probably
the horns up for sure. Hilarious. Okay, so hypothetically, someone very close to me, you know who Yngwie Malmsteen is, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So hypothetically, there was someone who looked very similar to I back in the late 80s. Very
I have a story about this too, but go on.
So a friend of mine, or hypothetically,
Yeah.
Was watching Ingve's cat, you know, and I'm like, dude, you have his number? He's like, yeah. I'm like, give me Ingve's number. Like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, don't worry about it. So, dude, for years, like 3 years, I randomly fucked with them. Yeah, this is so and so from the Internet Internal Revenue Service, and due to these 3 shows you played in Schenectady, and I'd come up with whatever and leave these random long 5-minute voicemails. So sorry, Yngwie Malmsteen, hypothetically.
So
That was
I have a story. When I was in 7th grade. I'm walking in my local mall, and my buddy and I were talking about Yngwie. It was the weirdest, and I knew that he had a reputation of being kind of a d-bag. Like if you didn't know who he was, I was young. I was young, and I knew that. Yeah. And so I'm walking in my mall, and I see this guy, leather everything, big old, just gold chain, giant medallion. His hair's all poofed out, like he's straight from the 80s. And he's got just his woman with him. She's dressed to the nines, and they got a kid. And I'm looking at him, and I'm watching him, and he's got his big old biker glasses on. And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm looking, and I'm like, it's not registering who it is. And then I get home, and immediately it clicked. I was like, Mom. She's like, what happened? I was like, I'm an idiot. Why? What happened? Did you fail? Did you forget your homework? What was? I'm like, Yngwie Malmsteen was in our mall, and I was 3 feet from him, and I didn't say anything. She's like, how do you know? And I pulled up a picture. I go, that's the guy right there. That's who I was looking at, and I couldn't figure it out. Yeah. And I was by myself, and nobody was there to witness it with me.
Right.
My friends had taken off to go do something, and I got lost. But I was like, who is this guy? But thank God I didn't walk up and say, hey, man, who are you? Because
so I have a couple of hypothetical Yngwie Malmsteen stories, so a couple more. So one time, Button South.
Yeah.
At the bar.
Great place.
Yngwie, dude, don't do that on the bar. Dude, the cops are everywhere. I'll be all right. Dude, Yngwie, my girlfriend was the bartender there. I'm like, and she'd be like, dude, you can't do that on the bar, you know? Like, oh, you know, he got arrested, hypothetically. Another time, so we went to an album signing, and it was for Yngwie's Rising Force. And so we went down there, and no, not Rising Force. What was the next one, Jason? Do you remember? Anyway, so the second, it was the second. So anyway, so we're like, hey, man, because everyone's got something to sign. So me and Jason, or Brian Topel, are waiting in line. And Brian Topel, his cousin dated Randy Rhoads.
Wow.
His other cousin produced the Flashdance movie and record, and also is executive producer of the Wonder Years. And anyway, so we're there, and he's looking for something to sign, you know, and me and Brian are both like, I lean up, I'm like, hey, man, what is it with you? Like, do you have a problem with singers or anything? He's like, oh, no, I think singers got a problems with themselves, actually. It's called singer disease. I'm like, dude, how can you go through a singer? Like, how do you go through 2 singers in one album?
Well,
you know,
you do have your Jeff Scott Soto theory, though. So
oh my God, I have a whole thing with Jeff Scott Soto. Like, why isn't that guy in one of the most legendary bands of all time for the past 20 years? Because he's that good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Never know.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all these talented players. Like, that's one of the weird ones that's like, this guy's so talented. He sings a bunch of my favorite songs, but yet he's not in a huge band. And by all instances, he should be.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they don't want that, you know?
Yeah. Right. He's in a lot of bands, but you know.
Yeah. Billy Sheehan, what a monster player.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of Billy, so I, on occasion, will pull up a bunch of people who I aspire to either work with or want their opinion on my music.
Yeah.
So I hit up like people like Billy and Kenny Arnoff and Doug Aldrich and just
People.
killer players.
Yeah.
And my message was, hey, this is who I am. I've worked with Frank Hannon. I have an EP coming out. I'd be honored to hear your opinion. And I was sitting there after I sent the message to Billy, and I was like, there's no hope that like I can almost bet for myself that I'm not even going to get a response. And so I wake up and he's like, hey, Austin, you know, I'm really busy right now, but you know, maybe sometime in the future, you know, good luck with your music. Have a great day. And I'm like, well, that's cool, man. Rather than, you know, being rude or just leaving it on red, at least he sent that and was cool about it.
Yeah, he seems to be a real genuine nice guy, you know.
Yeah, that's the vibe that I was getting too. And I hit up people who I've watched in interviews and stuff who like have that about them. Like it's not just like the one time he was a good guy and then the rest are just tankers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, like there's a handful of guys from me and Jason's generation, you know, like they, you know, it's not the model that Bonamassa is using, but they strive for that.
Right.
Because Joe figured it out. Whatever he's doing, fucking right on, man. Like
definitely. And the fact that he's having like Gibson and Fender sell their own products on his website, like, dude.
I mean, he figured it out, you know, but there's a handful of guys from the metal years, you know, George Lynch. So there's another Michael Sweet and George Lynch album coming out. You listen to Striper at all, or did you growing up?
A little bit, yeah.
One of my favorite bands. Dude, you know, Michael likes, you know, I don't know, man. Maybe open up for Striper if they hit town, you know what I mean?
Yeah, who knows?
But that was my own little geek influence there.
No worries, man.
But okay, so you picked Ted Nugent. Now, isn't it weird? Like I was having a conversation earlier with Paul. So we're talking about Nugent, right? And it's like so many people have forgotten like what a great fucking player that guy is. What an amazing musician, guitar player.
Oh yeah.
There were, you know, maybe they're vegan or something else, or they believe whatever it is. Because I don't care because I'm talking about his music. Period. Whatever.
Totally.
Else, you know.
Oh yeah.
He makes a living. Let's just call it that. And but Ted Nugent is a fucking monster.
Oh yeah. Like if I could,
and he'll never get his really due. Like all the musicians love him, but the public won't give him his real due because of whateverism.
Yeah, and you know, there's really good friends of mine who, whenever I bring up Ted Nugent, they're like, "Oh, well, you know," blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm not talking about what he says. I'm talking about what he does.
Yeah,
there's a difference. And I'm like, Cat Scratch Fever. That's like your favorite song. Like I love that song. And I'm like, that's the part of Ted Nugent that I'm referring to, not you know, or, you agree with it, disagree with it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
you know?
so, like I got a drum kit after 20 years of not playing on one, and that's the first song I play almost every day when I, you know, jam a little bit. It's Cat Scratch Fever because it's a great song, man.
Oh yeah, I watched his drummer. Okay, so I have a handful of not almost, but like instances where I've played with people or played in front of people who have been in his band.
Yeah.
And so the first time I ran into somebody who knew Ted was when I played the Whiskey a Go-Go.
Yeah.
And I opened up for Strawberry Alarm Clock, of all people.
Wow.
And their road manager was Ted's drummer in like 86. And so we're talking shop. He's like, "Oh, so, you know, what kind of music are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I have some originals and this and that. And we're going to end with Stranglehold." And this is LA. This is the heart of LA, as you know, V. And, yeah. And so he goes, "Are you sure you want to play Ted Nugent?"
Right.
In Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, I'm not here to make a statement, which that song's making a statement, but I'm like, I'm here to, it's an awesome tune. Like that's a finisher
Right.
at my regular shows.
Yeah.
So I have it on tape, which it shall not be released because the mix is horrible, but it's a great memory.
Yeah.
And hear the crowd. So I go, hey, you know, this is our last song. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Does anybody in the crowd like Ted Nugent? Probably had there at the time. There's like half of them yelled no, and the bartender screamed at the top of his lungs, yes. And
there's this in the background.
Yeah. In order to keep my cool, I was like, well, this one's for you, sir. So then we rip into Stranglehold, and everybody's just started losing it. They were like, okay, this
one of
is
the
great.
greatest rock songs
And
ever, man.
Oh, totally.
oh yeah. And so we get off the stage, everything's packed up. We're talking to Ted's old drummer, their tour manager, and he goes, you know, I was really expecting you to attempt, you know, maybe Cat Scratch Fever or something like that and just totally suck. And I got to give you props. You played one of Ted's, not only his longest song, but one of his, you know, technically more intricate as far as guitar players go.
Technically, yeah.
He goes, and you killed it. Like, and how old are you? I was like, I was 17 or 18 at the time. He goes, dude, you got to just keep sticking with it. Keep writing. And you know, you got a good thing going on here. So that was the first time that I ran into somebody who knew Ted. The second time, there was a period where California, basically our whole state was on fire. And like probably over half just decimated with, because we for whatever reason or another, I don't think we kept up on our force or something, and it just swept. You know, terrible stuff. But my local music scene, we threw a benefit for a town called Paradise, which is a neighboring city. And
isn't that where Wayne Charvel was living? Didn't he have his shop up there?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. But so the host asked me what songs I want to do, and I was like, well, I don't know, what music are you guys playing? And then without even giving me a choice, he goes, okay, you're gonna play Stranglehold and Whole Lot of Love. That's your songs that you're doing. And like, didn't even ask. And I was like, okay, sure. So I get on stage, I'm playing with his drummer. His drummer just killed it. Like, oh my God, it was fantastic. Never played with each other. And we locked in. And so unbeknownst to me, the guy who's the host, that drummer singer is talking with my dad. He goes, you know, you used to play with Ted Nugent, right? And my dad's like, what? He's like, oh yeah. He toured with Ted for like, you know, a couple years. And now he's here with me, and that's super cool. And I only figured that out after the fact that I got home from the show. And it's good that I didn't know that, because I totally would have gotten my head and messed it up.
Right.
And the last mini story that I have is here at the Ronnie Montrose Remember Jam.
Okay.
And this young cat comes up, drummer, and just totally kills whatever it was. It might have been like Frankenstein or something like that, Edgar Winter. And they go, oh yeah, give it up for Jason Hartless, ladies and gentlemen, current drummer of Ted Nugent. And I was like, what? Like, this cat is how old? I think he's like 33 now or something like that. He's really young. And I looked him up immediately as soon as they said that. And I added him on Facebook. And so I've been like, we don't talk or anything, because he's always working with Ted and on tour and all this stuff. But it's so cool to see him like post videos of like, oh yeah, you know, end a Cat Scratch or end a Stranglehold or
the drummer from Talkin was the drummer for like 20 years, and he just retired a few years back. So that's totally cool that he's got a new guy on there. But yeah, Nugent's a great player. One of the most underrated songs of all time. Okay, so since we've been doing these album by albums, and you love a band a lot, and like so we've been with bands that have fucking 15 albums in a row. And then you're like, oh, then you listen to them. When we do it, you have to listen to it all in a week.
Ooh.
So that's a lot to like ingest, right? So you get to literally listen to all the drama that happens in the band and the whatever and the record company bullshit and the wives and horses. And it's really interesting because a lot of the albums or the songs that you thought were okay either aren't, or the songs that you didn't like, you're like, this song is bad ass. And why did I not like this song? Right. So I started dissecting songs in a different way, listening to them now that I was being kind of a critic rather than just a fan, you know? Hey Baby by Ted Nugent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude, that song is smoking hot, you know?
Oh,
smoking hot. Just like James Barnes, dude, that love
I Feel
song
Good.
he does with Joe Bonamassa is fucking
yeah.
Wow. Smoking hot.
I just remembered there's another story, but it's actually, so I met Derek St. Holmes at NAMM 2 or 3 times.
Dude, what one of the greatest voices
completely by accident.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so I walk up to the Gibson booth because Frank Hannon was releasing his Love Dove, and this is 2020 NAMM, right before everything shut down. And I see Derek, and he's talking with these 2 ladies, and there's a giant Gibson structure. And apparently that was where Gibson artists go for like meet and greets. And I had no idea. So there's a long line of people, and I'm completely oblivious to the situation. I just go right up to the guy, and I was like, "Excuse me, Mr. Holmes. You know, I'm a really big fan. My dad introduced me to you know, your debut album, Ted Nugent. And, you know, your voice is just." I was very like nervous, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. You know, your dad raised you right." I was like, "Yeah, could I maybe like snap a picture with you like really quick?" And he's like, "Of course, man, no problem." So we take the picture, and then they listen to him, and it goes to that where all those people just saw me basically cut the line and get a picture with him. And it was so cool. And then that day we kept on like crossing paths, and I almost think that he thought that I was like stalking him for a little bit, because it was within the hour that I saw him again, and I like kind of gave him a head nod, and he looked at me like, "Oh, like what?" Like his face was like, "Oh no." It was still, he was super cool. And then I got to see him tear up Stranglehold with Phil X later that night at a pro jam.
Phil's a monster.
You know what's cool is, you know, him and Ted are playing again here and there.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, there's nothing, you know, that was all ego, Ted's ego getting in the way there.
Yeah.
But you know, what great dude, his voice is just so amazing and crisp and clear. You know,
totally. Even now.
All that you don't found. Yeah. Amazing. You know. But all right, we're gonna wrap up the Christmas edition, the Axemas edition. But Austin,
Axemas Eve.
dude, when you Axemas Eve, when you come out with your EP, if you want to come on to a listening party or whatever, or you know, we'll review the album, whatever you want us to do, dude. We're here for you. We love what you're doing.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And, thanks for having me on the show, man. I had a blast.
Absolutely. Thanks for you know, not every artist would share Christmas, you know, weekend with, you know, 2 old guys talking from their safety of their homes, having a little bit of bourbon or iced tea. And but that's totally cool of you, man. And when you come out to Chicago, let me know, and I'll be there, whatever you're doing. And then maybe
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, dude, anything we can do for you, we'd love to have you on. So absolutely.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys.
And Merry Christmas to you and to your family. And
likewise, Merry Christmas to you guys. And even your I forgot your term that you use, your elf back there.
Yeah. that's Paulie back there. But, yeah, your fan base is really cool. They've interacted with our page regularly, and they've been nothing but, you know, straight up rock and rollers. And you know, you seem like
they're amazing people.
You seem like you're surrounded by a really good group of people who have a solid understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate and blessed in that regard.
You know, and So yeah, so your parents did a great job. Shout out to your dad for me.
Yes.
And as always, go and check out our tunage for Christmas, because we do that after the show. And last week I kind of got a little really buzzed, and they're funnier as they go. But because people are watching at 6 a.m. and here I am with some bourbon. Good morning, people. But
welcome to the show.
Yeah, we did. Merry Christmas, Baby was posted on Thursday by BB King, the one and only.
Oh, nice.
But, yeah, horns up, everybody, and remember to watch some tunage. Austin Moe, great individual, awesome musician. So go check it out. Austin Moe Experience. Look out for his EP coming out shortly in the new year. And horns up, everybody. And dude, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Absolutely, man. And we will see you soon, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. Jason, you got anything to say to these people?
Just Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely. Don't remember, hit the like button, share if you must, and subscribe, because that's how we can bring you better shows. And I'm V, that's Jay, and down below is Mr. Austin Moe. And if you want to hear some great music, you want to play some Moe, Austin Moe. Everybody, rock on. Merry Christmas.